thank you for joining us this afternoon as we take you on a bit of a journey through the supply chain, starting at exploration, moving through to mining, then processing, refining, energy solutions before wrapping it all up with the circular economy. So quite a lot to cover in a very short time, but I hope we will be able to showcase the very best of what Finland has to offer. But just before we jump straight into that, I would love to introduce our wonderful panelists. So Kari, over to you.
Thank you. Hello?
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you, Olimpia. Yes, Endomines is a Finnish gold mining company. So we operate in Finland. We are listed in Nasdaq Helsinki, and we also perform a lot of exploration. So our focus is very much sustainable mining and changing the way also that the mining is done. And we are here in the booth M232. So if you have time to come for a visit, please come and say hello.
So my name is Andrew Waite. As you can see, I'm an Australian, but I represent Sumitomo Foster Wheeler here in Australia, which is a Finnish company. It is a subsidiary of Sumitomo Heavy Industries in Japan. Our main focus for the mines industry is on energy storage, and we have a unique energy storage system based around liquefying air and storing that liquefied air on site, and then recovering that through a turbine to give you up to 24/7 renewable energy from your site if you're running a combination of, say, solar and wind on a site remotely. So that's our introduction.
Hi, my name is Duncan Wyatt. Bedrock to benefit is really a great slogan for our company because we are engaged in the full value chain from mining through to final products. So I'm part of the Metso Asia Pacific team, and my focus is on critical minerals and hydrometallurgical solutions in that area.
Hi, I'm Hanna Junttila, and I'm the Business Development Manager at Lumo Analytics, which is a company making drill core scanning and selling data about drill cores. So we get the elemental and mineralogical composition of the drill cores to make the mining and the operations more sustainable and efficient. Thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Mika, Paalanne, CEO of Elmery. So what we do is that we are electrifying the critical metal refining, especially in the hydrometallurgical area. And we want to show concretely to the world that the cost efficiency and sustainability, they don't need to be trade-offs, but you can get both.
Thank you so much. As you can tell, we really do have the A team over here today. So I'm going to start right at the beginning, and I am not biased at all as an exploration geologist, but Hanna, you do some wonderful work on early stage exploration, really helping out companies to get their technology, get the deposits right. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and how you support companies?
So, when we do the drill core scanning and get the elemental and mineralogical composition, it helps in optimizing the process so that you can save energy and chemicals in the processes, in the processing plant. So from the beginning, start to think, how do we optimize the process? And when you scan the drill cores, you also get the knowledge about the waste rock, and you can start characterizing them to see whether there's some use for them.
Thank you. And that's very, very useful, especially for the junior sector, as they are trying to develop a lot of these critical mineral projects. Now, Kari, you're already a little bit further down that journey as you're trying to develop a state-of-the-art net zero mine. So can you share a bit more details with us about what is it that you're doing and why your company is so special?
Yes, thank you, Olimpia. Yes, exactly. I think it's very important that everybody, all the companies in the world, that we think about the globe as a whole and do actions to decrease the CO2 emissions. And in Finland, we are a front runner in many aspects. It starts from the energy production. So a lot of the production in Finland is CO2 free. It's over 90% of the Finland's energy production is actually CO2 free, and big portion is renewable. So it starts that the companies use energy which is produced in a way that it doesn't create CO2 emissions, and then that we choose equipment which works with electricity, or we convert equipment so that they use biofuels, for example. And then after that, we look at all the smaller things and ensure that the production is really running as little emissions as possible. And one other important factor in Finland, where we have 168,000 lakes, water is really important for us. We are outgoing people, like we love the nature, just like here in Australia, so that we ensure that all the water that we discharge is clean.
And of course, that's incredibly important. When we talk about ESG, however, it's not just about the carbon emissions, it's not just about the water, although they are very important. It's also about communities and social engagement. So I know you guys have been doing a lot of work around your SLTO, and we know that without a social license to operate, you don't really have a project. So can you share with us a little bit more on that and how you're successfully engaging with the local community as well as governments?
Yes, happy to share a little bit ideas. I think it starts from the basics, that what you do has to be done in the right way. Otherwise, you have to be able to always tell the truth and be open in your operations. So we continuously develop the operations so that they are world class. We don't want to meet the limits of permits. We want to make a world class operations, and then we can openly tell people what we do. Like we are now designing a visitor center in the next mine that we will open, and in the visitor centers we aim to have online measurements of all our emissions. So you can see the water quality, you can see our CO2 emissions online, and everybody can ensure that we are operating in a sustainable way. So it starts from doing things right, but then there is a lot of other items. We use local workforce, so we train local people. We have training programs because our operations are in a fairly isolated area. So we have a long-term training programs, and we employ local people. We prefer to use local subcontractors, even if they're a little bit more expensive. It's not about the money, it's about creating a relationship where both companies trust each other. And then we support schools. We also support kids in the families where there is financial difficulties. We give Christmas presents and things like that. So we really want to make a difference. Like when I retire, I want to be proud of the work that we have done.
And it certainly sounds like the work you are doing will make you proud. So hopefully retirement's not too far off for you. Now, Hanna, I know you've been doing some work around social engagement as well, one of the many hats that you wear. Is there anything you want to weigh in on? Sorry? Is there anything you want to add around the social engagement and the importance of communities and working with them to make them understand mining, to make them part of the journey, and to ensure that mining really works as a social aspect?
I put my Women in Mining hat on for a while. I'm a chair of the Women in Mining Association in Finland. So I'd like to actually ask from Kari that what is the gender ratio at Endomines mine? Do you remember it?
What is the
gender ratio, the balance between women and men?
Yes, we have 80% men and 20% women. That's I think that's very typical in the mining industry.
Yes, it's in Finland the average is 14, so you are well ahead. So the gender and equality and diversity things are really important part of the ESG things that needs to be thought when we are dealing with these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Another aspect that a lot of mining companies struggle with, and one of the key complaints in Australia from a lot of miners and our members as well, is the permitting system. Now, I know you had a few thoughts around how it works in Finland and the great environments that Finland is to operate in. So is there anything you wanted to add about how you've navigated permitting and how successful that has been for you?
Yes, I think it's now permitting is very important aspect, and we truly believe that when you do things right, then there should be a clear path on permitting, so that you know what is the permitting schedule, and but then there is the condition that you really have to do things that you do in a world-class way, and really minimize any emissions or things like that. And I think in the European Union and in Finland, it has changed now. Like there is so much geopolitical uncertainty in the world, and we want to ensure that there is minerals available closer to the home country, not just that we import everything from China, for example. So it has to be. It's also part of the sustainability is that we have the source of the minerals, and we can ensure the supply chain. So that's very important aspect, and I think now it has changed, and the permitting has become very much more reasonable in the time frame. But it also puts a lot of pressure that you really have to do things right, and you make world-class operations, and that's the first condition that you get permits.
Absolutely, and I'm sure with the drive for critical minerals, the increasing demand, and some of the net zero goals that have been set, we really do need to be cutting down some of those permitting times. Hint, hint at the Australian government in the room, if they might be listening to this. But we have a lot of the supply chain to get through, and I could talk about mining forever, but we are now focusing increasingly on value add and driving some of the onshoring, processing, making sure that more refining takes place within countries or close to where they are being exploited, extracted. Metso is a household name in this space, especially in building some of these cutting-edge refineries. So Duncan, I know you've been doing some work in this space, both in Finland and Australia. Do you have any case studies to share with us where it's gone exceptionally well, and a little bit more about the work that you do?
Yeah. Look, around case studies, I can talk generally about some work and some breakthroughs that have been done. One of the things, actually, I would just, not off topic, but just about sustainable processing and about moving to a more sustainable mining business. Forums like the one that we're in at the moment, where we're having this collaborative dialogue and able to see so many globally significant technologies and technology developments. I had the pleasure of going to the presentation by my colleague Timo on green steel production immediately before this session, actually, and I have to say that I was enlightened and didn't know the work that our company had been doing in that area. So I really think that sort of collaborative dialogue and that sort of collaborative engagement is so important. You mentioned that Metso is quite prevalent in the mining industry. We are, and not just in Australia but globally, and we are endeavouring to bring some of the learning that we have globally into Australia and vice versa, actually. I will give one case study example of a project that was actually executed in Finland at the Silanjärvi mine. That mine had a challenge with their residue storage. They had a permit for that mine for a certain land area, and they had utilised the majority of their residue storage area and were coming to an impasse in terms of being able to continue their operation. They only had a social licence to operate within a certain area, and actually the solution for that processing challenge was developed here in Australia, but executed in Finland as a collaboration, a technology and processing development collaboration, and those sorts of examples where the end result is a lower residue footprint is a really an amazing sustainable example, because not only did it mean that the footprint of the plant in terms of waste was lowered, it also meant that the local community that relied on that operation to continue was able to continue for many years, and I believe is still in operation today. Thanks.
Absolutely, and that collaborative piece is so important, especially whether it comes to the community engagement, but also technology sharing. And as the Western world is embarking to do a lot more processing and refining, there are quite a few hurdles to overcome, whether that's on infrastructure, whether that's on access to cheap capital, or energy and power. Now, I know Sumitomo has been looking at some very creative solutions when it comes to energy storage and some of the solutions. So, Andrew, are you able to share some of the wonderful work you're doing with us?
Yes, we've been fairly active as a technology developer and an OEM. We're looking to roll out various technologies into the marketplace. With the energy storage, we're presently doing some feasibility work in WA at the moment to fully understand, implementation and capex costs, development costs, permitting, etc. in WA. But with regard to a case study, we've done some work previously for a nickel refinery here in Australia, and the application there was not only for storing of solar energy at the site, but also the ability to provide heat. And with our mechanical storage method, we use compressors to compress air. Those compressors produce a lot of heat. We store that heat in the form of heat as molten salt at sort of 400 degrees type temperatures, and that allows the development of some steam which can supplement the existing refinery. So there's work there that can actually benefit the overall efficiency and also increase that total amount of renewable energy that the site can use, so they can avoid whether it's diesel or natural gas, fossil fuels, and supplement that with as much as possible with renewable energy. And so that's one of the aspects that we've looked at. It's still early days, and there's work to do, but it's certainly a possibility in the future.
Absolutely. And just a side question, how difficult is it to decarbonise some of those processing and refining aspects of the value chain? So typically they are incredibly energy intensive. A lot of the renewable technologies are brand new, still being tested. So how far away do you think we are from having completely net zero or zero carbon refineries and processing plants?
In terms of electricity production, the combination of, say, wind and solar, if you put sufficient on the ground, you can then have battery and or mechanical storage that can give you 24/7 renewable electricity. It's a case of just, how much of that and how much cost and how reliable is that? You probably will need some backup diesel of some sort, maybe 5 or 10%, but you can certainly get a long way towards it. The difficulty becomes when you're looking for heat solutions, and particularly steam solutions for processing. We're very good at burning things, gas, coal, diesel, and it's easy, and the capex is low. In order to change that over to an electrical source, we have some difficulties in both in materials and the type of technologies that are required to get the high temperatures with the materials. So there's work going on that. I think we're probably a few years away from getting that sort of thing. It's certainly something that Sumitomo is interested in and developing.
Sounds great. So we still have a lot of work to do, but it's not completely hopeless, which is always great to hear.
No, that's right, yeah.
Now, Mika, you have been sat here waiting patiently for me to get to you. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about what you do and how you help out with sustainable solutions, specifically around the circular economy and some of the circular economy principles?
Thank you, and it's been a pleasure to listen to colleagues here, so it's not requiring patience that much. But so what Elmery does is that we not only want to reduce the amount of waste and replace all the chemical intensive refining, but we really want to show concrete examples that you can actually start from the small and start scaling up it fast. And it's very interesting to be here in Australia, since the investment towards the processing and refining is ramping up now, hopefully quite rapidly. And our company is only 2.5 years old, but we are already working with customers in 7 countries, and based on the discussions today and yesterday, so I'm pretty sure that Australia will be one of the next ones. And so regarding the topic here, so that the decarbonization, so what do we do is that we really replace the chemical intensive solutions, and we allow the refineries and mines to recover the smaller traces of the solutions, because the deposits are getting poorer and companies really need to treat the poorer and poorer materials. And currently there are not that many electrification-based technologies for that. And the other thing is that we are definitely not settling that we are gonna kind of provide point solution to certain existing problems, but we are looking is partners as well, because we really need to be thinking holistically. And that's what the Team Finland is here for as well, that we provide solutions for different challenges. And in my opinion, the best way is to solve some concrete cases, then sit down with the nice people with the different technologies, and then find customers who have bigger problems, and then we solve them together.
Which sounds like a great approach. And in your view, what are some of the biggest challenges you're coming across that companies need help with?
Well, currently it depends on the market. So we've been asked a lot to help with platinum group metals, because those are needed for the hydrogen economy. So I think that it's partially based on the demand on the metals, which the corporations are kind of quite reactive. So we want to think more proactively that what are gonna be the challenges in 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And maybe just want to add to Hanna here, so that our gender ratio is 40-60. Ladies first.
That's a good point there. So when we talk about the circular economy, and especially when we're looking at developing new deposits, or whether it's about building new recycling facilities, new processing plants, we are now looking at how do we reduce waste, how do we use as little as possible. And I know in our chat online, Hanna, you had some opinions about how do we really make sure that the projects we are developing are set for success from the start and are as sustainable as possible through design before they are even built.
We have a bit hard time of hearing you here, so.
I'm aware, so we've got a little bit of an issue. We can't actually hear each other on the stage, whereas you can hear us. But so in terms of the sustainability and circular economy, you've had some views about how do we design things a little bit more efficiently, reduce the waste, so before the projects get online. So would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, there's this EU Critical Raw Materials Act coming, or it already came, and there is these statements that the waste has to be reduced, and the circular economy needs to be ramped up, and we shouldn't even generate waste. So if you know the most of your drill costs when doing mining and when doing exploration, when you know what's in there, also the waste drop, you can start planning how can you use it. You can use it for example, for roads, for aggregates. So, but the characterization of the rocks since the beginning is the key to get the best possible results with the recycling as well.
Absolutely. And going back to you, gentlemen, hopefully you can hear me over there. When you're talking about some of the energy solutions, when you're talking about the processing and refining, are circular economy principles creeping into your thinking? Are you designing these plans to match up with some of the expectations from governments, especially in the EU?
Look, sustainability and circularity is at the core of all of our thinking, really, whether it is the equipment or technologies that we're developing or the processes that we are developing to meet some of the new challenges in critical minerals and battery metals. I'll give you an example of a strategic material example of circularity, actually, or sustainability. I had the pleasure of going to Townsville recently and visiting one of our clients who is refining zinc, and Metso supplies technology to that plant, and I was there along with some colleagues to help optimise that technology. But what was most of interest at that plant is how they utilise, I think they have the largest solar farm in Australia, and they utilise that solar farm to process and refine zinc in Townsville, and they ramp up production when the sun is at its zenith and their solar power input is highest, and then they ramp down, and they also, in a sustainable, from a commercial perspective, they ramp up and down based on the power price. And we were providing technology that enables them to make the most of that situation. So there's a great example of sustainability in play, not just about commercial sustainability as well as process sustainability. One of the examples I gave yesterday in my presentation was around more sustainable practices when it comes to the manufacturing of precursor materials for batteries. We've been able to leverage some of the technologies that we historically use in copper refining, zinc refining, nickel refining, to now be used in the production of cathode active materials. And that has been a really interesting journey, because we've had to look outside the company for expertise to come in and work with our experts with the technology that we currently have, and then adapt it to be suitable for this process. And we've been able to do that, and we now have an offering that we think is a more sustainable solution than what is currently being used elsewhere. And the benefit of that will be, as the EU starts to create a carbon footprint for batteries, for their sustainable credentials, that will be an important component of that overall value chain that will be part of the EU's evaluation of battery technologies moving forward.
Absolutely. And just before we go over to you, Kari, we've also got green taxonomies being developed by various nations, which are encouraging lower carbon footprints, greener materials. So, of course, sustainable solutions are absolutely necessary to attract a lot more finance into critical mineral projects. Now, Kari, I know you guys have been looking at some of these solutions to help develop your mine. So over to you.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I would like to add on the circular solutions that as a gold mining company, the focus has been, in the past, it has been very much in the gold. However, nowadays we are carefully looking at all the other minerals, like we have also tungsten and molybdenum available, and currently we are developing processes how we can actually utilize the mineralization more thoroughly. And one thing to add is also as we have a flotation process, so there is a flotation sand area, and we are looking at reprocessing the materials so that we can utilize really everything that's available. That's really part of the sustainable solutions.
Absolutely. So it's great to hear about all the stuff you are doing. Now, we've got about 5 minutes left, and one of the discussions we've had previously is around actually what can Australia use as an example and implement based on what Finland is doing, based on the great business environment. So if you could give, definitely not the Australian government, a few tips on what could be improved, or what they could use as a great example of how to do things, what would that be? So is anyone brave enough?
Oh yeah. Well, but I think they have put it by themselves quite nicely, so that they really want to invest more in the kind of the total value chain on processing and refining and stay on the sustainable side. And I think that something that we are happy to discuss further is exactly the circularity. About the circularity, if I add to that as well, that it's a lot of mindset thing. If you think that we have endless resources, you don't care about that. But a good example is, for example, iridium, which is now critical for the hydrogen production. So we are getting calls almost weekly that can you help us with the iridium recovery, because the European Union demand is gonna exceed the global supply in a couple of years. So countries are starting to realize that, oops, we need to do something. And that comes to the kind of geopolitical topics as well. And this is not to advise, but again, very happy about the MOU that the European Union and Australia are having. So my words are maybe that let's get concrete things happening between Finland and Australia.
You speak in my language, so it's all about the action, not just the talking. Are there any final thoughts you would like to share with the audience before we perhaps open up for a question?
Well, just I would like to say that these last 2 days here, it has been very eye-opening in a way that there is a lot of knowledge in Australia. The discussions are in a really detailed level, and it's really nice to see that the Australia and Finland work together to improve the world and make the world a better place to be. And I think together we can achieve great things, and I hope the cooperation really goes to the next levels and we continue the cooperation here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Are there any questions from the audience? You have absolute fantastic brains on stage here. So if anyone's got anything they'd like to ask them. No takers, unfortunately. So thank you all so much for the insights you have provided us. I hope that you will agree with me that Finland really has amazing things to offer and incredible companies that are really driving critical mineral supply chains towards being more sustainable, more responsible, and hopefully, touching back on the geopolitics, we can build more diversified and responsible supply chains in collaboration, in partnership together. So thank you all so much, and please give a round of applause to our wonderful panelists.